Well, hello everybody. Once again, Mr. Reeves with you as we continue looking at solving proportions. We're moving on now to solving proportion word problems, and then we're going to be doing some problems involving estimating population size. Fun stuff. All right, so remember, a proportion is two equivalent ratios set equal to each other. And you have been determining if two ratios are equal in form of proportion or equivalent in form of proportion. You have also been solving to find the value of a variable that will complete a proportion. So now we're going to be solving some problems which will require us to write proportions and solve proportions. All right, so here we go. It says Brian ran a total of 12 miles over the course of 3 track practices. How many track practices would it take for Brian to run 16 miles? All right, so when you are solving problems like this, when you write your proportion, it's important for you to be able to organize them correctly. If you'll notice when you're solving problems like this, there's always going to be 3 values you're going to be given. All right, so I've got a 12, I've got a 3, and I've got a 16. And you know when you write a proportion, you have 4 values, right? We have A, we have B, we have C, and we have D. So we're going to be given 3 of the 4, and we're going to have to find that 4th one. Now, you can't just put them in random places, right? I can't just say, well, I'll put the 12 here, and I'll put the 16 here, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I'll put the 3 here, all right? No, that's not how it works. All right, we have to have equivalent ratios. So in this case, what do we have? We have 12 what? We have 12 miles, and we have 16 miles, all right? So I'm going to try to do some color coding here. And then we have 3 track practices, and then that's what we're trying to find. How many track practices? Okay, and I'm going to use the letter X. So when we see how many, that means it's our unknown, right? So I'm going to call that X. So now we have 4 things, right? We have 12, we have 3, we have 16, and we have X, all right? So now it's just a matter of where we put them. And the good news is you have some flexibility as to how you set them up. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and say, okay, he ran 12 miles. And he did that in 3 practices. So I'm going to do it this way. Now, please know that you could put the 3 practices on the top and the 12 miles on the bottom. That can be interchanged. But now once that you've written it this way, over here is going to have to go miles, and what's down here is going to have to go practices. Does that make sense? Because we want equivalent ratios. So what do we know? 12 miles goes with 3 practices. Well, 16 miles goes with what? X practices. So there's our proportion. 12 over 3 equals 16 over X. And now you can dive in and do these however you would like to. In the previous video, I went over lots of different ways you can solve these proportions, right? For me, I take a quick look here and I see that 12 is 3 times 4, right? Okay, so in other words, 3 practices were 12 miles. What does that mean? It was 4 miles per practice. Does that make sense? So whatever is here has to be times 4. Or if you prefer, a lot of times when the unknown is on the bottom, instead of multiplying up, we'll divide going down, right? Divided by 4, divided by 4. So what do we get? We get X is 4. So the answer is going to be 4 practices. Again, we could have cross multiplied, right? We could have said 12x is equal to 48, and then we could have divided by 12 and said that x is equal to 4, right? We could have simplified. We could have taken 12 over 3 as I mentioned in a previous video, we could have divided both of those by 3 and changed it to 4 over 1, right? In which case then we'd have 4 over 1 equals 16 over x. And then we could have seen, oh, that's times 4. So that is going to be times 4. And we could have gotten x is 4 that way. So many wonderful ways to solve a proportion, right? All right, and I just want to show you that not only could we set it up this way, I mentioned there's some flexibility. All right, we did miles over practices, and I said we could have done practices over miles. You could also do miles over miles and practices over practices. So I could have gone 12 miles here over 16 miles here, right? And then I could put 3 practices here. And then x practices here. Yeah? And then I have 12 over 16 equals 3 over x, right? And then I could have taken that 12 over 16 and simplified it by dividing by 4. And then what do I get? I get 3/4. So in that way, I'd get 3/4 equals 3 over x. So x would clearly be 4, right? Again, I could cross multiply. There's my, if you look at the cross multiplication, it's the same equation, right? 12x equals 48. Isn't that cool how even though I switched it around, I get that same equation? 12x equals 48. This is why, as a math teacher, I just love proportions. I know it's kind of crazy, but they are just so amazing, so wonderful. So many different ways to solve it. All right, look at that. I am super. All right, I'm going to skip to the next level here. It says Lucia bakes 60 cookies with 5 scoops of flour. With 7 scoops of flour, how many cookies can she make? Okay, so again, actually, let me do this. We have 60, we have 5, and we have 7. And then how many? That's going to be our x, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 things. We're going to write our proportion. Now, again, what do we have? We have 60 cookies, and we have x cookies, right? We have 5 scoops, and we have 7 scoops. All right, so again, we've got some choices. Normally, what we usually do is we put these 2 together, and we put these 2 together. That just seems the way we seem to do it, all right? So 60 cookies takes 5 scoops, right? And what do we have? We have x cookies takes 7 scoops. So when I go to write my proportion, I have 60 over 5 equals x over 7. And again, many different ways to solve this, all right? So if I look here, going up, all right, because 5 doesn't go into 7 evenly, so going across doesn't really help me. But 5 times 12 is 60. So 7 times 12 is going to give me my answer. And guess what 7 times 12 is? 7 times 12 is 84. So we're going to get 84 cookies. We again could have cross multiplied and gotten 5x if we go that way, right? We get 5x. And if we go this way, we get 60 times 7, which is 420. And if we divided both of those by 5, we would get x equals 84. All right. And again, if we wanted to, we could have done 60 over x, right? We could have done cookies over cookies equals scoops over scoops, right? And that way, you could see if we did it that way, that would be times 12 that way. So that would be times 12 that way. All right. So many ways we could do it. But no matter how you do it, as long as you do it correctly, you're going to get 84 cookies for 7 scoops. All right, let's skip up to the next level. Haley grew 504 flowers with 24 seed packets. How many seed packets does Haley need to have a total of 840 flowers. All right, so here we go. 504, 24. How many? That's going to be our x, right? And 840. Okay, so what do we got? We got 504 flowers. We got 840 flowers. We've got 24 seed packets, and we've got X seed packets, right? So let's go ahead and write our proportion. All right, so 504. I'm going to go ahead and leave off the labels now because I think you get the idea, right? 504 over 24, so flowers per seed packet, right? And over here we have flowers per seed packet. All right. Now, again, I think they're saying this one's more difficult because the numbers are bigger. Remember what I said that it's good to do? See if you can actually simplify 504 over 24. Now, obviously, those are divisible by 2. Those are divisible by 4. I'm wondering if I can get any bigger. I'm wondering about 12 because I know that 12 goes into 24. So real quickly, I'm going to see if 12 goes into 504. Well, 12 goes into 50, 4 times? And I get 48. And I bring that down 24, and 12 goes in, and I get 42. All right. So if I were to divide both of these by 12, and I see now I could go even bigger, right? 504 divided by 12 was 42, and 24 divided by 12 is 2, right? But I can then divide both of those by 2. And what do I get? I get 21 over 1. Wow, so 504 over 24 simplifies to 21 over 1. Isn't that nice? You don't have to do this. It's just nice if you can to simplify. Because even if you were going to cross multiply, you got really, really big numbers, all right? So now the question is simply, how many times does 21 go into 840, all right? If you think about what this says, all right, this was flowers per seed packet, right? What this says is I can get 21 flowers per seed packet, right? So if I have 840 flowers, the question is, how many seed packets will that take? Well, I believe 21 times 4 is 84, right? So 40. So X, excuse me, X is equal to 40. Sorry. My apologies. Okay, got it correct. And now I'm going to sneeze. First I cough, then I sneeze. Excuse me. Wow, having a hard time. Wow. This is where having a video editor would come in handy because I would cut all that nonsense out. But, sorry, you're just going to have to hear the coughs and the sneezes. And you can't hear them, but now I'm crying. Alrighty. Here we go. We are in the challenge zone, and I'm having a challenge right now just getting through these problems. Clarence jarred 6.2 liters of jam after 2 days. How much jam did Clarence jar if he spent 5 days making jam? All right, so here we go. There is our 6.2, 2 days. There's our 5 days. And how much in this case instead of how many? That's our X, right? So there's our 4 things that we have. Now I'm going to do my color coding deal. I've got 6.2 liters. And I've got how much? This is how much liters, right? I've got 2 days here, and I've got 5 days here. Obviously, guys, you don't have to color code. It just helps me to see how to organize it. So I've got 6.2 liters in 2 days. I'm going to have X liters in 5 days. Okay, so here we go. 2 does not go into 5 evenly. I can simplify this, right? I can take 6.2 and divide it by 2, and I get 3.1 over 1 equals X over 5. And now the nice thing is I know that 1 times 5 is 5, right? So the question is then, what is 3.1 times 5, and it's a very nice problem. 5 times 1 is 5, 5 times 3 is 15, and I get 15.5, what was it, 15.5 liters of jam. 15.5 liters of jam. Would you look at that? Fantastic. All right, so that is how you set up these problems, solving proportion word problems. All right, the next and final skill we're going to cover in this video is estimating population size using proportions. So this is going to be very similar. It's just like a specific case of what we were just doing. It's just going to be the same kind of problem every time. All right, it says Cassie studies orcas and wants to estimate the population in a certain region. Cassie catches 57 orcas, not orchids. Orchids are flowers. Orcas are animals. Marks them and releases them. Marking and releasing orchids would not do much because they would just sit there in their pots. All right, at a later point, see, I cracked myself up. At a later point, Cassie catches 100 orcas and observes that 15 of them are marked. Okay, so if we look, we have 57 orcas, right? And then we have 100 orcas. And then we have 15 that are marked. And then the question is, what is the best estimate for the orca population? Okay, so let me say this right here. So this 57 is actually marked, right? And this 5 is marked. So there's marked and there's marked. This represents a population sample, and this represents the total population. All right? So again, there's a couple different ways you can do this. We can do marked over marked sample, right? And we could do population over population sample. That would be one way to do it. Marked over marked, population over population. Or we can do, right, marked over population and marked over population. I kind of like to do this in terms of the time right here. Okay, so let's say we have 57 that are marked. So we have 57 marked. How many did she actually catch that were marked? She had 5 that were marked. Now, out of that 57 that are marked, the population is unknown, right? But here, all right, she caught 100. So there was a population of 100 and 5 were marked. All right, so are you with me? So that 57, they just randomly marked them out of a population of we don't know. But then when they actually gathered a sample of 100, 5 of them were marked. So here is our proportion. 57 over x equals 5 over 100. All right, now 5 does not go into 57 evenly, does it? And again, we can do our cross multiplication. Or I can simplify. I want to always encourage you to simplify. 5 over 100 simplifies to 1 over 20, right? So what do I have to do to get there? I have to multiply by 20. So what do I have to do to get there? I have to multiply by 20. And 20 times 20 is 400. 400, all right? So we're going to go ahead and put in 400 here. And it is incorrect. Okay, because it is 57, not 50. Not, well, let's see what I did wrong here. What did I do wrong? 1 times 20 is 57. Really, Mr. Reeves? Wow, 1 times 57, 20 times 57. Okay, wow, 20 times 57. That's more like it. 2 times 7 is 14. Carry the 1. 2 times 5 is 10. All right, so we've got 5 out of 100, 57 out of 10, 40. Correct answer is 380. Let me take a look and see what I did wrong here. 15 over 100. All right, 15 over 100, blank over 57. Wow. What did I do? Oh, Mr. Reeves. Look at that. Sloppiness. Sloppiness. I had 5 instead of 15. All right, so, oh my goodness. 15 over 100 would simplify if I divided by 5. I would get 3/20ths, right? And then that's 3/20ths, and 3 goes into 57. Let's see. 3 goes into 5 one time. All right, 3 go 19, right? So then we do, wow, then we do 19 times 20, and then we get the 380. I apologize, but hey, that just shows that even your amazing math teacher sometimes makes careless errors, and I should be more careful. Okay, let's see if I can do better this time. 32 foxes were tagged and released. Later, researchers counted 330 foxes, out of which 24 had tags. Okay, so we've got 24 tagged. Let's see if I can get this one right. 24 tagged out of a total of 330 population. Okay? All right, how many were originally tagged? 32 were tagged. And again, that population is unknown. Okay, so we got 24 over 330 equals 32 over x. Okay? All right, let's see if I can do a better job this time. All right, so we can simplify. Let's try to simplify 24 over 330. Well, certainly I can divide by 2. I'm thinking I can't divide by 4 because 4 does not go into 30. So let me just divide by 2 here. If I divide by 2, let's see what we get. I get 12 over what? Half of 300 is 150. 12 over 165. 12 over 165. But then can I divide that by 3? 12 over 165. If I divide both of those by 3, I get 4. 3 goes into 16 5 times. 55. 4 over 55. Yeah? All right. So I simplified. I divided by 2 and then I divided by 3. That tells me I could have divided by 6, right? If you divide by 2 and then divide by 3, that's the same as dividing by 6. Either way, we got there. All right. See, this is proof I'm not cheating, guys. You're watching me go through the process. Now I could say, oh, look at that. That one is 8 times as big. So I need to do this one 8 times. All right, so 55 times 8. Here we go. 8 times 5 is 40. Carry the 4, and we get 440. That makes sense, doesn't it? 440 for 32, because 24 is 330. Those are all equivalent to 4 over 55. I'm feeling much more confident in this answer. 440. And would you look at that? Phantasmic. All right. Is there another level here? Okay, here we go. Felipe lives near a lagoon in the Caribbean that is populated by flamingos. Felipe decides to figure out approximately how many flamingos are in the area. He catches 28, puts tags on them, and releases them. Later, he catches 695, 14 of which are tagged. Okay, so here it's going to be the same idea, right? We have 14 tagged out of a population of 695, right? He originally tagged how many? He originally tagged 28. Oh, you're kidding me. And we want to know what that population is. Okay, guys, do you see why I said you're kidding me? Because look, 14 goes into 28 how many times? Exactly 2 times, right? So the amount tagged, all right, was twice as much as what he caught. So what does that mean? That means the population is simply twice of 695. Watch me get this wrong about after saying how easy it is. 2 times 5 is 10. Carry the 1. 2 times 9 is 18 plus 1 is 19. 2 times 6 is 12 plus 1 is 13. 1,390. That's right, because if I rounded this to 700, 7 and 7 will be 14. Take away 10. 1,390. Final answer. Ka-chow. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop there because I don't think the challenge zone could get any more difficult than what we've got here. All right, so I apologize for my coughing, for my sneezing, and for my mistake on that problem. But other than that, wasn't this an awesome, helpful video? All right, have a great day, everybody. See you.